Hi, thank you for joining Hawaii Wellness Network, and we're really excited to have Hannah and Walter from Hawaii Brain Fitness Hawaii, and they do amazing things for children and adults, and we can talk about how you got started and your background and your training. And
It's a very short story. I was raised and born in China and during the Cultural Revolution. So when I was a kid, my dad was taken away to Siberia for forced labor. So my mom didn't know how to raise two kids at the same time, especially my little brother was hyperactive. So my mom used the typical Chinese parenting style, that is beat, 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 beat. So being a very sensitive kid myself, I felt emotional, physical abuse that I was fighting through the rest of my life. And in my adulthood, I didn't realize I suffer from this symptom called post-traumatic stress disorder. And I use illegal drugs like Ambience so that I can sleep, and I drink averagely about one bottle a night so that I can sleep. And one day when I woke up, I thought I was waking up, and I was driving on Kaneohe while my eyes was actually closed, and I hit trash can 10, boom, 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 in the road. And that was a wake-up call for me. And I know, Hannah, you gotta wake up. If you don't wake up, the next time, God is not gonna be with you. And that was the moment I decided to stop drinking and stop taking Ambien. But I was addicted to Ambien. So I was going through all the panic attacks, thinking that my body is leaving me. It was anxiety attacks. So, and I refused to take any more drugs. That's what take me to Brainstem technology. So,
and that's the technology that
the
you
Brainstem
help
technology, yeah, and it was phenomenal. When I was going through the first 10 sessions, in about 8 sessions, I was going through transformation. One thing that really opened up was that I do not use my mom as excuse to say that, oh, I can drink because my mom did this 40 years ago to me. You know, I'm no longer a victim. That was a huge. Another thing I realized that it was a psychic comic dance between me and my mom. If I want to do the work I'm doing right now as a metaphysical counselor, a PhD in metaphysician. So if I want to do the work, I first have to forgive my mother. Once I forgive my mother, I have to forgive myself. And during the brain training, my entire body was shaking on that chair. Incessantly, I just said, I'm not a body, I'm love. I'm not a body, I'm a love. And after that, I just basically mortgaged my house and bought this.
How is your relationship now?
Technology.
Much better.
There is no any energy left. There is no any energy left. I think the energy has been transformed into tremendous amount of compassion. And I think because of my mom, it initiated my spiritual journey into forgiveness. Therefore, I can forgive myself, so that I have this tremendous love and compassion towards those people who walk into Brain Fitness Hawaii, and I know what they suffered. So it was like a movie playing again and again and again with a different name. My name is Hannah, could it be Walter, could it be Jason, could it be, Athena, and they are all my brothers and sisters going through the same karmic journeys with the same sufferings and struggles. And I'm there to alleviate their pain so that they can have the same transformation like I do, knowing that forgiveness is not about someone else. It's about letting me go so that I can move forward. So, and because of the law of attraction, and I found this amazing man. And I met him while he was doing this brain map assessment. So tell Lori about what you...
At the time, Walter was doing life coaching?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've been coaching people, what's called life coaching today. I've been doing that for almost 30 years. I just never knew that's what I was doing. And a couple of years ago, I was in a course with my sister and her husband in the mainland, and I actually was asked to coach a leadership program. I'm like, sure, I love coaching. So I did. And then during that leadership program, a few people said, oh, you're such a great coach, you should be a life coach. And I'm going, well, what's a life coach? You know?
That's kind of a popular word.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do that, right? And it's been amazing. It's been truly amazing. I have, life coaching as a practice has a lot more discipline and structure to it than the impromptu conversations I used to have with people. So, and then it was during that process that I actually came across this information by Lee Gerdes. This is the guy who started the company, Brain State Technologies. This is a little excerpt from his book, Limitless You. And I came across that information, and I was doing some research, and I found out about Brain Fitness Hawaii. And we actually had made an arrangement to have a meeting one day, but our schedules didn't match. Months later, we have a mutual friend that introduced us and said, you guys need to talk to each other. And so that was the beginning of it. And she's talking about the brain map assessment, and that tool was astounding.
So did you have that service done?
I did.
To see where you were at.
That's why I retained him.
That's
why
funny
he
thing.
said, I gotta follow you.
Yeah.
Because he was just, how do you know me?
Yeah, the thing was, so, we all know the stuff that we have. We know what we do well, we know what we don't do well. We know the things that have happened to us in our life, and we know the stories we have about those things and how they've affected us, like she was sharing the trauma, the post-traumatic stress from this trauma she was having with her mom as a young girl. Now it's manifesting in her adult life. Everybody has something like that. And so, of course, I had my story, my circumstances and my story, and I went in for this assessment, and it was amazing to me. She's talking to me about, well, you might have this tendency, and you might have had that happen, and maybe this occurred. And like everything she was saying was things that I thought, I'm the only one who knows that about me, right? I'm going, how does this computer know what's in there? That's kind of spooky, but really what it comes down to is this. We're each unique. Nobody has the same thumbprint that I have. And so nobody has the exact same brain energy or brain patterns as anybody else, but everybody has a thumb, right? And so everybody has a brain. And brains do a lot of the same things. They're not all identical. These guys, Brain State Technologies in Scottsdale, Arizona, they have full, what they call relational brainwave patterns on over 50,000 brains. And out of that, you're going to find correlations. You're going to find things that, when it does this, it probably means that, And those correlations are amazingly accurate. So anyway, we did the brain map assessment, and I'm like, yep, that's what's going on. And anyway, and initially we were talking about I would be coaching her clients who completed the intensives of the brainwave optimization. It's usually 10 sessions that people participate in following the brain map assessment. But as I got to know more about what was actually going on with her technology, with the technology that Brain State Technologies created, I really wanted to do that. I wanted to make that part of what I do.
Great. So that's the first thing you recommend is have a consultation with either
brain map assessment.
Yeah.
So I can be a fortune teller to tell you exactly. You don't want to tell me the skeletons in the cupboard. But the thing is, all of us have something in the darkness. The three things we gotta ultimately face is commitment, courage, and honest. So once you have integrity to say, yes, this is something I need to deal with, but I never have enough courage. I waited that long to deal with it. And then you deal with it and we call it total cleansing, and set your brain wave pattern to default setting. And then there is no noise in the head, and then you can start it new and new. So one of the mom just finished the training. She said, astounding. She's been saying astounding for 1 week, and then the other day she just called me up about her 11-year-old kid. All he does, I said, Dr. Hana's gonna put Yoda into your brain. Would you like that? He said, what kind of Yoda are you gonna put it in? But anyway, all he does is I hypnotized him. He was asleep. The first thing Mom noticed that the kid was always very violent and angry. So whenever they have steps going downstairs, whenever he fell, he will kick things, hit someone. And that night, the second session after he finished training, he fell again. He scratched his butt. He said, Mom, I think it's a good idea for us to install an escalator in our house. Mom was like, what happened to the anger, the stress? It's just gone.
We've heard a lot about patterns coming up from the conscious or the subconscious.
Yeah.
Do you work on those levels, like
Yes.
erasing the record that repeating? Because a lot of times you'll
Yes.
say, I'm going to go to the gym, but then
Yeah.
you have the old voice going, well, you did that before and you didn't show up and you're
Yes.
not going to be successful.
Brain fitness, very simple. It's totally clean up the noises in the head, in the frontal lobe. We in the modern world give so much credit to our logic thinking, but when you're totally vulnerable, like a contested divorce, or totally bankrupt, unemployed, some accident that the brain doesn't work anymore, logic doesn't make any sense anymore, you're vulnerable for the limbic system take over. If the limbic system has inflammation, the heat energy will be elevated. That's why I can capture through this cap.
And do you want to
So-
talk a little bit about the frontal lobe? What
Yeah.
is that responsible for in your brain?
Frontal lobe is primarily for impulse control, for anger, for cognitive thinking. So, for example, for weight management, weight loss, if you don't do the brain map, you could say, I just take the diet pill. You can have an HCG that you will lose 30 pounds, but 30 days later, the 30 pounds going to regain. With the brain map assessment, what you can do is you can find out the the weight loss is actually due to stress eating, or is due to self-condemnation. I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. Or it's because of lacking of frontal lobe, self-control. So if you see the frontal lobe, the wave is like a wow, 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 wow. All over the place, energy is inflamed, therefore it's so high to the touch, to the sensor, then it captures right away. And the amazing things about this program, it's a self-calibrating. So you say, I want to lose weight. So it's not saying I want to lose weight. It transcribes into a certain tone, and then just to reduce the amount of frontal lobe wave, all of a sudden you don't have an urge to eat anymore. So that's the wonder of weight loss program.
Do you want to demonstrate how the
Yes. Okay.
Walter volunteered.
So,
So while she's putting that on me, I want to make a comment about something that you said. You asked something about something being erased. And I know quite a number of clients where they have a memory of something that was very traumatic to them.
Yes.
And that memory, every time it gets triggered, either by a current event or okay, so when a current event triggers that memory, then they react. But it's not the current event that they're reacting to. It's actually the emotional pattern that the memory causes, okay? What our clients experience after having gone through their intensive sessions is they still have the memory, so nothing's erased, but the memory no longer has the emotional impact it used to have. So what that
The
means
charge.
is, right, so what that means is that they can see the memory, but the context in which they're viewing it no longer is impacting their moment-to-moment decisions. So, like Hannah was sharing about how she would take Ambien so she could sleep, and she would drink, and whatever it was. What she was doing was, she was using chemistry to anesthetize an emotional experience. Like she had emotional pain. I'm so cockeyed now.
And just so you
It's
know,
awful
I had
here
a
on
session
the-
and you do not have to wear the hat.
You don't have to wear
This
the
is
cap.
just a demonstration.
This is a demonstration. This is basically showing that there's different points on
Yeah.
the brain.
Right.
These are meridians.
So different
know,
points in
focusing
in
energy.
the,
I never wore the
in
hat.
the,
Yeah.
because it's so advanced. Since the first time I manually have to put it down, but now it's so simple. So over here is weight management. Over here is depression. If someone has elevated ones, over here is ADHD. The mammalian brain, all the way at the back, mammalian brain, temporal lobe, hippocampus for the memory, pituitary gland for the anti-aging, cortisol, stress hormones, fight and flight mode is all over here. So basically it's like a meridian. When you put all these sensors, capture all the energies, we call it 24 spots on the head. And after you capture all these energies, you know exactly where they go through, such as infringement, abuse, PTSD, brain trauma, ADHD, depression, on and on and on, traumatic brain injuries, because brain is like a memory tree. It doesn't disappear. When you dissect, you can see the ring of memory rings. So same thing with our brain. Each one of us have this unique pattern, so therefore I can pretty much tell where you were last life, how come you come over here, where you're going. One of the spiritual healers from Big Island flew in. All she wanted to do is do astral travel. So after the phenomenal 10 sessions, she went to Japan, and she was calling all these gods in, like you do, one of our audience did, channeling work. And she can exactly tell, the book, what is that, Kaisha book, what kind of book can tell what was your past life?
Akashic records?
Akasha record. So she was calling those records and tell them why you're suffering, how you're gonna let go, how you're gonna move on. Right. So it was phenomenal because it opens all the channels for someone who's done meditation. And then meditation is all limbic system work. It's reptilian brain of thousands years old backside. Mammalian has nothing to do with frontal lobe. So that's the work we do primarily, is all emotion.
So you work with military and PTSD?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, on a more technical level, there are a number of double-blind clinical studies that have been conducted by Dr. Charles Tegler at Wake Forest University, and he actually runs the largest stroke unit in the country, 1,500 beds, right? And he's done double-blind clinical studies on stress, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, insomnia, and they're currently getting a study underway on traumatic brain injury. One of the most amazing studies that they did that I saw reports on was about pilot insomnia, because pilots, they fly a certain number of hours, and within any 24 hours they're only allowed to fly a certain number of hours, right? But the fact of the matter is that they're trying to maximize the number of hours that they're getting of flight so they can make the most flight pay they can get. But at the same time, the regulations restrict how much flight they can actually do on a given day. And so what happens is some pilots, they'll fly 3 trips, right? They'll fly from like Chicago to New York, New York to Chicago, Chicago back to New York. But they live in Chicago, so they have to get on a flight, they call it a deadhead, to go back to Chicago. So now they've made 4 flights in one day. Their body clock gets really whacked out by that. So they don't have the regular sleep patterns, because they'll do that 1 or 2 days and then they're off for a day or whatever it is. And my own personal experience with this has been just the most amazing sleep. My schedule changes. It's not the same every day. Sometimes I work a long day, sometimes a really short day. But what I've discovered, and this is just amazing for me, it doesn't matter if I get 8 hours sleep or 3 hours sleep. I sleep like solid all the way through. I don't wake up in the middle of my sleep. When I lay down and go to sleep, I go right to sleep. And when I get up, it doesn't matter how many hours I've slept, I'm ready, I'm alert, I'm like, I get the best night's sleep every night of my life. It's amazing.
A lot of people would find that amazing, because
It
I hear
is.
that a lot, that they wake up in the middle of the night or
It's,
can't sleep.
I find, I talk to people quite a bit about this, and I find that the number one thing is that they have a difficulty actually getting to sleep, which kind of addresses a little bit what Hannah was talking about. The frontal lobe is where we do our decision making, but the thing is that we live in such an overwhelming information environment that the frontal lobe can't possibly manage all that information. And so what happens is decisions are getting pushed off to the parietals and the temporals.
backside,
And
yeah.
those areas of your brain are not designed to do that. So it's like you're going to bed and you still have a full inbox. And there's all this information that hasn't been assessed, addressed, sorted and filed. And so it's like people, they lay there and their eyes are open, they close their eyes, the brain's still going, and they're not getting any rest. And then finally, they take a sleeping pill or they drink something or whatever it is.
I know a lot of people go to sleep with the TV going.
Right.
Which is not a good habit.
No, it's like open channel to the wrong side of the
Yeah.
game. But anyway, the point I'm making is that what brain balancing does, brainwave optimization, it doesn't cure anything, doesn't treat anything. We don't do any diagnosis. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is we're giving the brain a way to actually observe itself in action. So there's a signal, like this cap is an example. Each of these has a wire coming off. That signal is being fed into a computer. The computer converts the signal into a sound, gets played back into the ear. What happens is, just sitting here not doing anything, your brain is making a signal. Now, if you had the equipment on and you're hooked up to the computer, and then I press play, now a sound goes in your ear. The brain says, "What's that?" Well, the moment it says, "What's that?" that's a new pattern. And so it creates a new signal, which creates a new sound, right? And so pretty soon the brain realizes it's making the sounds that it's hearing. And what's amazing is at that point, the technician and the client are pretty much irrelevant, because the brain will dance with the software for as long as the software will run.
Self-calibrating.
Yeah, it's
In the
self-calibrating.
real time.
It's like this. Imagine if you had to get ready for a party, but you could not look in a mirror.
That would be tough.
A little frustrating.
Especially with the female.
Yeah, well, not so much for
Well,
guys,
I
right?
mean, doing the makeup and the-
But my point being this, your brain is trying to maintain balance and harmony in a world where it cannot see itself. What brainwave optimization does is it gives it a real-time balancing opportunity. It can see itself through sound. And what happens is it immediately starts to play around with its activities until it's hearing a balanced and harmonious signal. And it's not the software telling the brain what to do. It's the software is kind of going, okay, here's you. How's that look? Does it look pretty good? And the brain goes, oh, that's me, huh? Wow, hey, look at me, And then it starts to go, oh, I'm kind of lopsided here, right? And it does whatever it has to do to get itself into the harmony and balance that it wants. That's one of the things I really love about this whole thing, is that there's not a standard, that we're not saying, okay, here's how your brain ought to be.
One size fits all.
Nobody can tell you that, right? But your brain, seeing itself, it can go, oh, I want to be quieter. That's actually, most of them want to be quieter.
Right.
They really do.
I actually did 10 sessions with Brainstem and worked with Hannah,
Yeah.
and I didn't notice differences, but people would say, do you know that we were in the car and you didn't have the radio and you didn't talk? Because I have some ADD tendencies,
Right.
and I can't, if it's too quiet, I can't, I'll start chattering. I have to have music playing or something in the background. And other people said, oh, we worked and you didn't have any music on for 2 hours. Did you notice that? I'm like, wow, okay. So there was little tiny changes that other people noticed, which I found really interesting.
I've discovered a lot of our clients have a similar experience. They will not notice the change themselves, but people around them will say, hey, you're acting differently, and it's really cool. And they're like,
Yeah, and
oh,
I
yeah?
appreciate it. It's been
We're like,
quiet.
oh, great, that's good. We've actually had people that came back and say, I don't think this is working because I'm not noticing any difference. So, of course, knowing that's going to happen, we do a very thorough process as when they come in. Okay, what are the things that you're noticing? Where in your life is there something showing up that you want to look at, whatever it is, so that they tell us, okay, here's how it is for me, and here's what I want. so that we can actually have a document of it. Because by the end of the session, they're like, okay, that was cool. What happened?
Yeah, it was relaxing.
I
So
feel good.
after the 10 sessions, do you do another brain map assessment to see where the different levels are? Or
Yeah, it's
can
like
you
a going-
gauge that way?
It's three, we call it walls dance, walls, 3-step dance. So intensive get your brain set in motion. So it's balanced, it's intensive. After that, you come back in about 6 months for brain map assessment to see where your brain is. And after that, you do a regular maintenance, but it's optional. So some people got so addicted to it because they want to feel this feelings of no fear. It's
So
like
balance.
a total limitless. It's so true about that movie, Limitless. You feel like the focal point is no longer, it's not narrow focus about me. It's about I'm being taken care of. Focus is open focus. So when you're in that state, the realm has completely changed. So they want to come back and tell them, you cannot see Dr. Hannah for 6 months. Ow! This is self-regulating. So the brain continuously evolving. You allow the brain to breathe in the new me. And for another 6 months after it's settling down from the intensive training, they come back for the brain map assessment to see if they need to fine tune up. If they need a tune up, it's very reasonable. 2 times, 2 hours every month. So 2 times, see me 2 times for a year. So, and basically, they felt like no more stress. Just like me, I used to drink wine, but now wine tastes like a vinegar. And I'm probably gonna auction off all my collectibles now. So that's a final let go of. So they call it.
Hawaiian shop.
Yeah, they call it Peniston syndrome. They use that brain training as a part of the cry help rehab. So it instantly statistically improve those people abstination from drink in a greater odds from 40% success rate to 75 to 80. So I use myself as a guinea pig, and so true. So I guess so.
Great. Well, do you have any classes and workshops coming up? Or
We do offer last Saturdays of each month. We have an open house. Everybody can come and touch and try 10 minutes to see what it is. And the last Saturday we always have a promotion like a Thanksgiving time. We do. November 11th is always PTSD. We will be on the website saying 20% off. Sometimes, like this month, we have $49 for $300 brain map assessment for $49. A lot of people took advantage. If they are on my monthly newsletter preferred client list, they get my maintenance package for very nominal, like a $50 an hour charge. And also they get to invite to my house, beautiful house, for all you can eat, all you can play, magicians, musicians, dancers, clown people can entertain them. So
and how do they get in touch with you to get on your email list or
just a
website?
monthly newsleter on my email list.
Okay, and what is your website?
Brain Fitness Hawaii,
Okay.
that's our website.
Yeah.
Can I give them your phone number?
Just info. Oh, phone number is
673-5888.
Yeah.
Okay. Do
And
you want to
remember-
repeat that if anybody's writing that down?
673-5888, that's Brain Fitness Hawaii. It's also directly to Hana. If you want to get hold of me, it's 383-1717.
We have a toll-free number, even better.
Yeah, what's that one?
Toll-free
I forget
number is
that one.
855 Aloha Hi. So 855 Aloha Hi Hi Hi.
And you can also find your ad in the Hawaii Wellness Directory.
Right.
Yeah. And one thing I want to share, and I think all of us are forms over here, but beyond that form, Laurie and I are doing the same thing. I mean, when I first met you, Laurie has 1 magazine. Now Laurie has 2 magazines, had a radio show, and have a TV. What we all are doing as a community is to allow people to see there is a tremendous amount of power that we can heal ourselves. And this is the message very clearly you are disseminating to the society, so that we are no longer crippled by the meds, because meds has a toxicity. We live in a toxic pool, and we no longer want to put all these pills into our bloodstream. And Laurie, you've been doing a fantastic job, and I'm forever grateful for what platform you have provided for us to be able to give voice to the community. We can help. We are here.
And the
for all of
TV, the
you.
TV shows, the 30-minute clips are great because it's almost like the magazine coming to life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you see all the advertisements and you see the pictures, but you get to like see everybody in real person. So
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for
and
coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Great.
inviting us.
Yes. Well,
Thank you
great.
very
Well,
much.
thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.